Why don't companies answer my email? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. It is frustrating. It really is. You send an email potentially to a sales or support address or something associated with a company or some software that you're trying to resolve an issue with, perhaps. And it looks like it goes into a black hole. It just disappears. You wait hours, you wait days, you wait weeks, and there's no reply forthcoming. I want to go over a couple of the reasons that might be. And unfortunately, I have to start with you. What I see very commonly on Ask Leo when individuals submit questions using my question form is that they mistype their own email address. They get their email address wrong. That's one of the reasons you have to type it in twice on so many different forms, because it is so common to type in the wrong email address that by the second time, you probably might get it right, right? You might type your own email address incorrectly. But the bottom line here is that it is very common to mistype an email address. So, as always, double check that. It's one of those things that can make a huge difference. And it's frustrating for me because with a mistyped email address, I can't even reach out to you to tell you that something is wrong because I don't know your real email address. Another problem is that many people don't follow instructions. So if you take a look at the Ask a Question form on Ask Leo, askleo.com/ask, you'll see that there's a list of instructions that I would like you to follow before asking me a question. I would like you to follow them because there's a really good chance you'll get your answer much, much faster by finding it yourself. And indeed, I also then say, please be complete. Give me enough information. Here's an article about how much information would be helpful. And time again, we get questions that are the moral equivalent of it doesn't work, which tells me nothing. And when we finally get to the issue at hand is a question that has been answered on the website and would have been easily found had the person followed the instructions. So one of the things I really encourage you to do, and this is it's about way more than Ask Leo, is to, whenever you are submitting a question to anyone or whenever you are trying to contact someone about an issue, be complete. Give them the information that they're going to need to help you. Because in many cases, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but in many cases, businesses are so overloaded that if the initial question doesn't show any hope of having enough information, there's a good chance they're just going to ignore it. I try not to, but sometimes when things are busy, I have to in order to basically manage my own time and stay sane. In that same vein, the other end of the spectrum is interesting. We often get questions that are essentially novellas. They are huge, they are long, and sometimes they actually include useful information. But a lot of the time, it's like paragraph after paragraph of backstory that I don't necessarily need to answer the question. So be complete, but be concise. Don't tell someone your life story if your life story is not involved in the issue that you're dealing with. Give people the information they need to help you, and no more. Some people are just rude. I get those. And yeah, if you're being rude, if you're ranting about a problem you don't like, you're ranting about a change that was made, you're complaining to customer service, and you're using offensive language to do it, yeah, you're not going to get a response. That's not how you get assistance. That's not how you get a response. And finally, contacting the wrong target doesn't help. In my case, that's not an issue because all targets point to me. But in cases where you're dealing with another company and they have, say, a sales division and a support division and maybe an investment division, I don't know, different divisions. If you've got a support issue, reaching out to sales isn't going to help you. If you've got a sales issue, there's a good chance reaching out to support isn't going to help you. So it's important to understand that you are targeting the people that actually could help you with your issue. Okay, don't do those things. I don't want to make this seem like blaming the victim. I'm not. But there are things that you can do to increase the odds that you'll get a response. Now, let's talk about those companies. Many companies don't have enough customer support staff. In fact, I'll say most. And that's particularly true in the free world where we're using free services. The problem is that people are really expensive. Even when you outsource them, say overseas, it's still really expensive. So a lot of companies are cutting back on real in-person, either respond to your email, chat to you online, or have a phone number for you to call. They're cutting back on all that because it's expensive, especially for free services where you're not really paying for the service. I'll get to a recommendation on this in a moment, but the bottom line is you really do need to understand what kind of customer service you can even expect from the companies that you're dealing with. So no response doesn't necessarily mean that nothing happened to your message. Another scenario that happens frequently, especially with software, is that a piece of software will be released with a problem. And of course, the company is flooded with complaints about that problem. They fix the problem. Great. Do they or do they not take the time to respond to that flood of complaints? Some do, some don't. But the fact that the problem was resolved is, in a sense, your response. And finally, don't expect instant responses. These places don't operate necessarily 24/7. Email is not instant. There are delays built into the system. There are all sorts of reasons that it may take a few hours, a day, a few days for you to get a response if you're going to get a response. So to the extent that you can, be patient. Now, there is simply no escaping the fact that some companies, potentially even a lot of companies, just don't get it. They don't do customer service well. They're apparently making enough money without it that they don't need to invest in it. Ultimately, they may care, but they don't. That's frustrating. That probably is the most frustrating scenario. And I really don't have an answer for that one for those specific companies. Some of them are just too big that we kind of sort of, I don't want to say have to use them, but we use them because they provide a valuable service. And it's valuable enough that we're willing to at least tolerate not having customer service. There may be online forums, there may be ways to other places to get help, but the customer service for that company is simply non-existent. One of the common scenarios is that we think that when we are using a service, that we're the customer. But in so many cases, mostly social media, other scenarios that are free, we're not the customer. Whether we're the product or not is up for debate, but we are not the customer. The customer is the person or company that's actually paying money to the services we're using, which is generally the advertisers or whomever else. But without being the customer, when you and I aren't the customer, customer support just may not be a thing. So what do we do? Understand your need for customer support, and then understand what you can get and where you can get it. If something is important, then potentially choose a paid service over a free service if customer support for whatever that is going to matter to you. This is one of the reasons that I've so frequently advised against free email services for anything that is truly important or mission critical. Don't expect support from free providers. Look for peer-to-peer support forums, look for knowledge bases, but just don't expect that there's anybody you can email, anybody you can call, or anybody that will answer. Look for and read completely the information that the service might provide. This is one of the things that I do run into, even with my own articles. People often don't read the whole thing. They will get to a point where they think they're done, and they're not. And that part that they're missing is the answer to their problem. So take the time to read the information that's available and read it completely. Above all, as I always say, just make sure to back up your information so that if you're in a situation, especially a so-called disaster situation where you've lost an account or something like that, and you're not getting customer service of any sort, you're going to have your data anyway. Your data is backed up so that even if you lose that particular account forever, you haven't really lost any information, and you can at least start to recover. But ultimately, customer support is tough. And when you find companies that do customer support well, save them, remember them, tell your friends about them, because that is often one of the biggest distinguishing features between competitors in a particular market. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/15355. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.